What about the hydration? Because that's like extremely important.
Well, hydration is extremely important, and really where I go on this is that I stop eating the foods that make me thirsty. So I'm not eating dehydrated foods in any particular quantity worth noting. To understand that all cooked food is dehydrated food unless it's been cooked in water. But I'm not eating any dehydrated foods, but I'm also not eating any foods that have salt added. Salt is the biggest dehydrator.
Okay.
And I don't use salt, don't recommend salt. If we want to kill a person, we give them salt. An ounce of salt will kill a man. So
No kidding, I didn't
an
know that.
ounce of salt will kill a man. It doesn't take much. And so we really deal with hydration by just giving people some parameters to tell how well hydrated they are. These three are basically, if your urine isn't approaching clear, then you probably need to add water into your system. If your urine is scanty rather than satisfactory in volume, you probably need to add water, or wet food, whether it's watermelon or juicy fruits. You need to get more hydration. And if you're not urinating at least 7, 8, 9 times a day, preferably closer to 10,
Yes.
then there's a good chance that you're not properly hydrated. Now, the urologists of the world say that if you urinate fewer than 5 times a day, you probably have a problem. Okay? And if you urinate more than 15 times a day, you probably have a problem too, although it may be a different problem. And so they then recommend 6 to 8 times a day. I don't know how they went from 5 and 15 and came up with 6 to 8, except they're eating the standard Western diet too, so they probably pee 6 to 8 times a day. And to tell somebody to drink another 12 glasses of water would be probably tough for them.
Yeah.
So, but I'm looking at, I understand the health parameters, why they're right about 5 and 15, but then I make my recommended range 8 to 12. If you're not urinating 8 to 12 times every 24 hours, you need to make adjustments by drinking more water or less.
Now, what about at night? I mean, do you get up and go to the bathroom at night, or do you
Well,
stop drinking at a certain time?
I rarely drink any water because the fruits and vegetables supply me with all the water I need, usually. And I'm not eating anything that makes me thirsty. So my need for water is surprisingly low. Most months, other than the heat of summer, I'm not drinking any water at all for months at a time. But if I needed water, I would drink it in order to become well enough hydrated. As far as urinating in the night, our normal sleep cycle is between 75 to 90 minutes. That's the sleep cycle. And every 75 to 90 minutes, you wake up. Usually you're not aware of it because there's nothing to notice. And so you don't notice anything. Sometimes you might notice that you rolled over.
Well,
when you rolled over and you were conscious of it, you reset your pillow, you pulled up your blanket, you did whatever you did, and you go, oh, I'm aware, and then you went right back to sleep. You actually wake up every 75 to 90 minutes as part of your sleep cycle. That's the normal cycle. And if there's nothing to notice, you just go right back to sleep. Even though you woke up, many of the sleep experts say that's part of sleep. So, because they don't really know exactly where waking and sleeping, like if this is all awake and this is all asleep, they don't know if this little part is awake or asleep. Have you ever heard people talking in your dream, and they were actually talking out in the room, and you were awake enough to hear it, but asleep enough to be dreaming?
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a middle ground there. So we wake up, and if there's anything to notice, we take care of it. And one of the things you might notice is that you need to pee. If you need to urinate, well, you need to get up and go pee.
Yeah.
If you're urinating 10 times every 24 hours, that's once every 2.5 hours roughly. 8 or 9 hours in bed is a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Without getting up at least once. Getting up at least once was the human norm.
Okay.
That's how they named all the constellations.
Really?
I mean, there was nothing to do. They got up in the middle of the night. They couldn't turn on the TV set, and there were no movies to watch. Right? There was no internet to check.
Yeah.
So they went outside, pee, check out the constellations. I mean, the constellations have been named for thousands and thousands of years. Where'd they come up with all that?
Yeah, I don't know.
They got up and peed.
That's pretty good.
So getting up once certainly is within normal limits. Getting up twice, maybe if you spend 10 hours in bed, what a luxury, you might even get up twice. But I don't find getting up to be a problem. I'm not getting up 5 and 6 times a night. Yes, I do make my eating patterns such that I eat early enough so that whatever I ate last has a chance to go through me a bit, and so I'm not like eating and then going to sleep, generally. There'll be a couple-hour gap. It gives me a chance to urinate once or twice from the dinner meal, and still, I mean, I get up once usually. Most nights I get up once. Sometimes not at all, but usually once.
Okay. Now, for people who aren't doing 80-10-10 and are not really focused on hydration at this time, you've trained a lot of people through exercise programs.
Yes.
Is there a way, like when they're training, that you can tell that they're dehydrated?
Well, I'm using the same parameters. Before performance decline becomes obvious from dehydration, you don't have to get very dehydrated. The medical people say they can monitor dehydration. They call it mild dehydration when you're 1% dehydrated.
Wow.
1%. That's not a lot.
No, it's not.
If we say you weigh 200 pounds, 1% dehydrated is 2 pounds of water. That's just a quart of water.
Wow.
A quart of water weighs 2 pounds. So if you're a quart low, you're in trouble. You know, you're already, but it's considered mild dehydration. It's possible that this will affect some of your decision making, some of your muscular strength, some of your fine coordination. You won't be able to give the maximum drive that a person who's fully hydrated would be able to. But you're not getting into serious hospitalization, medical conditions until you're about 5%, which would be 10 pounds or 5 quarts of water.
Wow.
So if you're a gallon low, like, wow, you could drink a gallon, you know, you're probably right on the edge of going to the hospital. I've been almost that low on occasion, training in the heat. I've been low enough so that 3 quarts of water was nowhere near enough.
Wow.
You know, and it was like, wow. I've done workouts where I lost 9 pounds of water.
Wow.
Right. But I am starting out more hydrated than most people are, and so I can lose it a little bit more easily without getting into trouble. But still, those were times where I definitely knew I was pushing the limits of, well, it's starting to affect my training. I'm barely able to bicycle home, or I'm barely able to run home. I don't recommend getting quite that low, but they were experimental phases in my my fitness training for sure to see what would happen. But yes, you can see it in an athlete because A, they're not urinating, or B, if they do, it's scanty or extremely yellow.
Okay.
You know, by the time an athlete pees really yellow or really little volume, add water. Don't wait until you feel thirst. Add water.
Cool. How can people get in touch with you?
I'm easy to reach. They can go to my website. Food and Sport is the website. It's the word food, the letter N, and then the word sport. It's 10 letters. If you do food and sport, and it comes out 10 letters, you probably have it right. You can go to my website. You can find the 80-10-10 diet. You can find my new book, Prevention and Care of Athletic Injuries, and all of my other books and tapes, all sorts of information about the seminars and retreats that I do on emotional eating and getting yourself centered again, building self-esteem, fitness performance programs. You can get my stuff on you can go to Amazon and buy my books, and you can get the 80-10-10 diet for free at every library in the United States. Go to any library in the United States. If they don't have the book, because nobody's requested it yet, they're authorized to get it. All the libraries in the United States are on the list to get a copy of 80-10-10. They'll have it for you and for everybody else. Of course, you'll still want to go to my website, because once you read it, you're going to want to give the book away to a few people.
Absolutely.
But I'd love you to order it from your local library and get it into that library as well.
Thank you, Doug. This has been unbelievable information, and I'm sure this is going to help a lot of people.
It's a treat. It's a real treat. Thank you for helping me spread the message and for having your interest in the 80-10-10 diet.
This is win-win right here. This is a win-win situation. And if you haven't been to the Woodstock Fruit Festival, get there.
No
awesome
question.
People like Doug.
If you haven't read the 80-10-10 diet, read it. It'll be good for you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right.